Man.
All right, let's bring in Jay Sorgi right now from 620 WTMJ in Milwaukee. He's also a contributor to Packers Radio.
Maybe he's more of a positive person than you are.
Well, let's find out. Jay, are you a positive person?
I'll be glad to assist you gentlemen in that department.
How positive can you be? Wisconsin loses Monday night, and the Brewers have lost to the Rockies of all teams the first two games. Not a good week for you guys.
So far, it hasn't been. There's a chance at a Bucks playoff clinching tonight if they can do what's impossible and defeat the Cavaliers and LeBron James at this point. But so at least there's that to look forward to here in the state of Wisconsin.
Sure.
Yes, better have a couple of days.
And you still have the greatest brats in the world, so, I mean, you got that to go with.
Johnsonville.
Yeah, plus a bunch of fresh water next to us and frozen custard.
Yeah, what has been the hangover, and I'm sure there has been one, of what happened on Monday night, and do you think the people there have gotten over their issues with the officiating and the call that wasn't changed and what went on against Duke?
I think that with the announcement that was that incorrect call on that out-of-bounds play, the fans feel a little bit vindicated with that to say, yes, we got, shall we say, jobbed at that at this point. But I think there's still a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths about the fact that Bo Ryan, immediately after the game, chose to focus on that particular thing instead of saying we didn't do what we needed to do. And it just wasn't a good look in order to try and communicate to his players, you know what? You want to be stand-up people, be stand-up about what you did wrong during a game when things don't go the right way. And then he's communicating that the moment after a championship game. At the same time, that was probably the low moment of his life, of his career, and he's got 30 million people watching him at that moment. So, in essence, you sort of don't blame him, but yet still not a good look.
Jay, we also found it funny, and Woody brought this up the other day, that he was complaining about fifth-year eligibility players, yet the quarterback for Wisconsin a couple years ago was a fifth-year guy and pretty darn good, Russell Wilson.
That was rather interesting, I think, too, although I think as well, the point was just as much toward one-and-done kind of players who are coming in just for their freshman year and then saying see and taking NBA money. And I think a lot of people took it as that instead of it really being about the fifth-year senior who's going after the master's degree and is just a rental player for just a very short period of time. But I think in general, either way you go, Bo Ryan has always been known as never really going after that type of player, especially the one-and-done freshman. Now, he did with Diamond Stone, a recruit out of Milwaukee who was ranked as one of the top 10 high school basketball players in America. The thought was he couldn't academically cut it at Wisconsin. He chose Maryland over the Badgers. And through this whole process, it was the thought Bo was going after him just because it was that type of talent. And, of course, he loved that to have that kind of talent at Wisconsin, but it's still not the thought that Bo Ryan likes that type of player. Typically, he's just a Southern player.
Jay, I would submit to you a couple of things, and I'd like your response to it, that he doesn't have the one-and-done players because he can't recruit those one-and-done players. That if he could recruit those, if Okafor had announced, I want to go to Wisconsin, I love Wisconsin, he would have taken him. He wouldn't have said, no, you can't come here. And the other thing is, someone said to me the other day, it really helps teams like Wisconsin that hold their teams together, that there's teams out there one-and-done all the time, because the teams that do hold their players together have an advantage. Wisconsin got to the final game. My God, what else does he want?
You make fantastic points with that. There was also a really good article this week, too, that talked about how Bo Ryan doesn't necessarily at all go for those one-and-dones, and partially, especially on the local level, because theoretically, many of the, if you will, students from Milwaukee who might be playing for the Badgers down the road, they can't cut it academically because of the school system here not be able to produce enough students that can make it. And so he can't go after those kind of players because they don't have the capability to even just get into the school period. And it's those academic standards. We all remember what happened when Gary Anderson left the University of Wisconsin football program to go to Oregon State and cited they can't recruit those kind of players because of the academic system. And maybe that's where it involved with Bo Ryan and his recruiting.
Jay, I want to change over to baseball here. So Vegas had the Rockies over-under win total at 71.5, and Vegas had the Milwaukee Brewers over-under win total at 80. Yet the Brewers come out of the chute and lose at home the first 2 games of the year to the Colorado Rockies. I'd like to predict right now the Brewers are going to have a really bad season.
That's for good and for very good reason. But remember, you are talking the equivalent of 12 minutes of a National Football League season.
I know.
He is a very positive person. He's twisted around exactly what you said.
Yeah, you're going to end up 160.
And I'm the same way. Jay and I are alike. Jay, I'm already planning the parade route here for the Rockies this year, and you're making a great point about how the Brewers. You can't sit there and cry about the Brewers.
Great, I'm talking here with Pollyanna and Mollyanna. Great.
Excellent. I'll take the Mollyanna role. But the real thing is Ryan Braun's health. He has not been in the lineup. He wasn't in the lineup yesterday. He will not be in the starting lineup tonight. And as injuries go, that's where the Brewers' offense will go. And Braun has missed, will essentially have missed 2.5 games if he doesn't play tonight. And how many runs have the Brewers scored in those 2 games? 2. Additionally, Aramis Ramirez, if he is able to actually get past these injury issues that he's had over the last couple of years, that's going to be a big piece as well. Adam Lind at first base. Can he stay healthy through an entire season and give the Brewers some offensive punch? If they can, they could get to 85, 86 wins and maybe have a shot at a wild card spot. If they don't, then yes, it will be a really sad season, and we'll be looking forward to training camp in July with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Jay, though, you had some really crappy pitchers on the mound in those first 2 games.
And those were number one. And those were the Brewers number 1 and number 2.
I mean, that's what – I mean, you gave up – I mean, not you, but you meaning the Brewers to the Rockies. They tied a record that had stood for
300 years
in baseball. They had more doubles.
12 doubles in 2 games.
They had more doubles than Todd Helton did during his entire career. The other question I would like to ask you is Braun. When I watched him the other night, he looks slimmer and I'm not really trying to be sarcastic here, but he didn't look like the same Ryan Braun that I'd seen in the past.
That he didn't. At the same time, his spring training productivity later on, he was hitting close to 500 for the second half of spring training after a very slumping first half. So offensively, it's just a matter of, is he in that zone? Now, when it comes to the pitching, yes, Kyle Loesch performed for one night like I would have performed if I was on the mound. It was Mariano Sorgi as the opening day pitcher for the Brewers. But, again, it's night in, night out. Is that going to be the case with this team? Doubtful. And I know that Kyle Loesch did not have the world's best end of his spring training. That carried over against a Colorado offense that was the highest scoring offense, I believe, in the National League last year. And, well, you got Carlos Gonzalez back. So, and it's not just the capability to score runs at Coors Field. They can do it no matter where they go, and they proved it. Now, yes, Kyle Loesch was rather pathetic in game 1, but it's not exactly like he's facing a moribund offense.
Yeah. Jay, how do people follow you? And we'd certainly like to have you. It's great stuff. We'd love to have you come join us out here. When Milwaukee comes to town, the Brewers, we'd like to have you sit here and watch us as the Rockies score 18 runs against your two great pitchers that you threw out on the mound. Or maybe you could pitch in the next game at altitude, because it's only 1/100th of the season.
Precisely.
How do they? What's your Twitter handle, and how can people pay attention to you?
The letter J and my last name Sorgi, and you can read all our work at wisports.com to keep up on Wisconsin sports, especially when you guys come and face us as you have this week and turn Miller Park into your own bandbox.
Sure. And everybody remembers what a great career you had as Peyton Manning's backup in Indianapolis. So
Jay, thanks for your time, man. We'll see you soon.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right, Jay Sorgi of 620 WTMJ Milwaukee.